Welcome to the law offices of Chris M. Ingram's Immigration News Roundup podcast, covering all the latest U.S. immigration news up to July 21st, 2025. We would like to thank the staff at the law offices of Chris M. Ingram, who worked very hard in researching and preparing the legal research for this podcast from a wide variety of news sources from both sides of the aisle, so that you get a balanced view. Our coverage is designed to be nonpartisan, although some of the stories covered are quite disturbing. And welcome to the deep dive. For this deep dive, we're going to unpack the complex, high-stakes drama of U.S. immigration as it played out in July 2025. Our mission is to really extract the most important insights from the extensive legal research provided by attorney Chris M. Ingram and our dedicated team. We want to help you understand what's truly at stake amidst, clashing public opinions, these intense crackdowns, and pivotal courtroom battles, all happening within a pretty turbulent economy. So July 2025. It's really delivered some blistering headlines in U.S. immigration, hasn't it? Border issues often feel like national battlegrounds. And what's particularly striking from our legal team's research is this apparent shift in public sentiment. There was a Gallup poll released July 11th showing a remarkable 79% of Americans now view immigration as a positive force for the country.
79%, that's a huge number.
It really is. A dramatic jump from prior years. And get this, only 38% now support deporting all undocumented immigrants. It's a 9-point drop.
Okay.
While at the same time, a significant 78% favor pathways to citizenship, and that's up 8 points.
Wow. So a real shift in attitudes then.
It seems like it, but it raises the crucial question, right? How do we reconcile this dramatic shift in public sentiment with some of the really aggressive policy actions we're seeing on the ground?
That's the key tension, isn't it? Our researchers noted that this shift, well, it seemed to directly correlate with that viral footage we all saw. Yeah. The immigration and customs enforcement, ICE raids in cities like Los Angeles and Miami.
Yes. Those images were incredibly powerful.
They really were. Images of agents separating parents from children. It left communities in anguish, and it sparked this palpable public backlash. It seemed to resonate deeply right across the country.
And yet, in the face of these poll numbers, President Trump's response has been pretty unwavering. Yeah. He's openly dismissed these findings. Instead, he's emphasizing the launch of the first ever self-deportation program. And that came with threats of sudden deportation.
That quote was striking.
It was. To all illegal aliens, book your free flight right now. And he's repeatedly voiced concerns about radical Islamic terrorism as sort of the justification for these actions.
Right.
But what does other research suggest about the public's view of these specific enforcement efforts? Is it all shifting one way?
Well, it's important to look at the full picture, like you said. Yeah. Our team's study of the Harvard-Harris poll, that was from July 6th to 8th, it provides a bit of a counterbalance. It actually shows 60% overall support for President Trump's border closure efforts.
60%. Okay.
And a strong 75% backing the deportation of criminals specifically.
So it's more nuanced.
Exactly. It indicates a more nuanced public view than maybe you'd initially assume. And the partisan split is stark, as you'd expect. Republican approval for Trump's handling, 85%. Democratic disapproval, 98%. And independents, they lean against it, 70% disapproval. So it really highlights a deeply divided but also, complex public opinion landscape.
That division and the powerful human stories that keep emerging, they're certainly being captured by the media. Those images you mentioned, the crying children, things like that seem to turn stomachs across party lines, don't they?
It's visceral.
It creates a very powerful visual narrative. And you can't help but wonder if it could significantly reshape the political landscape, maybe even influencing the 2026 midterms down the line. But moving beyond the shifting polls and the political rhetoric, there's just this profound human tragedy unfolding at the core of these policies. We're seeing families ripped apart in, unimaginable ways. What does our legal team's research tell us about the scale of family separations under these renewed enforcement measures? Are the numbers climbing again?
It's a critical question, and frankly, a deeply concerning one. Our researchers note reports of up to 1,360 children still remaining unreunited from past administrations.
Still, after all this time.
Yes, and concerningly, new raids are constantly adding to that tally. The parents involved are often detained indefinitely, frequently without clear communication, leaving children stuck in already overwhelmed foster care systems. The numbers are escalating, and the human cost is just immense.
Our team brought us some deeply personal stories that really illustrate this. It's hard to even talk about. Imagine the agony of an anonymous Guatemalan mother. She described her 8-year-old son being alone after they took him at the crossing.
Oh, no!
She hadn't heard his voice in months, apparently, and he was crying for her, alone. We also heard descriptions from Florida. Midnight raids, doors kicked in, children screaming as parents are handcuffed, hauled away, leaving behind half-packed lunches, unfinished homework. Just gone.
It's devastating to picture.
What are the long-term impacts of this kind of trauma on these kids, on their communities?
Well, psychologists are sounding serious alarms, as you can imagine. They warn of severe long-term psychological effects. We're talking post-traumatic stress, depression, significant developmental delays in children. And this directly translates to things like increased school absenteeism, higher dropout rates, and then there's the surge in demand for youth mental health services.
Which are already stretched thin.
Exactly. The real challenge is that this burdens public systems already struggling with underfunding. It's a societal cost that will ripple for years, probably generations.
Attorney Chris Ingram, our attorney, had a really powerful statement on this. He emphasized these aggressive raids on undocumented parents are traumatizing U.S. citizen children, effectively orphaning them overnight. One moment their parents are heading to work, the next they're taken at gunpoint without warning, leaving kids in a state of shock and despair that no child should endure.
That captures it perfectly. And Chris further underscored that, quote, the lack of due process in these operations not only violates basic rights, but destroys families and communities, turning the American dream into a nightmare for many who contribute so much to our society. He added, without fair warning or legal recourse, we're fostering a climate of fear that discourages participation in the economy and society, ultimately weakening the fabric of our nation.
And we saw this play out with a specific example our team found. A Haitian family in Springfield, Ohio. Their dream of owning a home is basically being shattered right now.
Because of TPS.
Exactly. Their temporary protected status, TPS, that's the temporary legal status for people from countries deemed unsafe, it's expiring. And it just plunges them into this terrifying uncertainty, this looming fear of deportation. So while the human tragedy of these policies, the families being ripped apart,
it's undeniable.
But the fallout isn't limited to human suffering, is it? These same policies are also exacting an equally brutal economic toll. They seem to be hammering businesses, slowing national growth. What kind of economic impact are researchers actually projecting?
Yeah, the economic side is really significant, too. Our legal research indicates a projected 0.4 percentage point drag on 2025 GDP.
0.4%, that's substantial.
It is, and it's largely due to deportations and these visa crackdowns creating significant labor voids across different sectors. For instance, our team's study highlighted agriculture. They've seen losses of about $2 billion in the last quarter alone.
$2 billion?
Yeah. Leading to rotting crops, higher food prices for everyone. And in construction, you're seeing projects experiencing months of delays.
Because of labor shortages.
Skilled labor shortages, yeah. Which, as you can imagine, inflates housing costs in what's already a really tight market.
So the ripple effects must be spreading out quite widely then. What other sectors are feeling the pinch?
Oh, they certainly are. Our team found, for example, a 15% contraction in the childcare industry.
15%?
Yeah, which forces parents out of work because they can't find available caregivers. Small businesses are struggling too. We heard from a Chicago diner owner lamenting significant staff losses leading to early closures, things like that. Even the tech giants are decrying H-1B delays. Those are the visas for skilled workers, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Costing them billions in lost productivity. And when you connect this to broader macroeconomic factors like tariffs, inflating import costs, and this stubborn 3.5% inflation rate, the whole situation becomes even more challenging.
It's also fascinating how this affects tax revenues. Our legal team's study pointed out something interesting. Unauthorized immigrants contributed an estimated $24 billion in Social Security taxes in 2024. That's billion with a B. And they did so without drawing benefits.
Exactly. That's a crucial point.
So what happens to that base when large-scale deportations occur?
Well, deportations directly erode this tax base, which, threatens future solvency for those critical programs like Social Security. Attorney Chris Ingram articulated this impact on businesses really clearly. He stated, quote, many American small businesses are suffering if a large section of their workers, such as those on a farm, construction site, hotel, or food plant, can be taken away without notice or due process. His question was, how are these companies supposed to complete their commercial contractual obligations if they lose a significant part of their workforce overnight?
That unpredictability. It must be devastating for companies trying to plan or fulfill contracts.
It absolutely is. Chris's point really highlights how this unpredictability, as shown by various industry reports our team looked at, leads directly to breached contracts, legal disputes, significant lost revenue.
Right.
And this, in turn, deters further investment in affected sectors, which ultimately slows down the overall economic recovery. It's really no wonder that bipartisan economists are warning of what they're calling a self-inflicted wound. And you have industry leaders actively pleading for a more balanced approach, acknowledging that immigrants play a vital role in filling, 8 million job vacancies across the country right now.
USCIS is cracking down on visa fraud, and even approved cases are being revoked.
Why was my visa denied? USCIS revoked my approval. At the law offices of Chris M. Ingram, we handle every detail with care. Every form, every fact, every time.
So join us for a free consultation. We do things the right way. Let us take care of you.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly and turn our attention to the legal and administrative battlegrounds. These are actively shaping U.S. immigration policy right now. Our researchers highlighted a significant Supreme Court decision. Can you walk us through Department of Homeland Security VDVD and its immediate impact?
Sure. So on July 3rd, the Supreme Court issued a 5-4 stay, in that case, Department of Homeland Security VDVD. What this ruling effectively did was allow deportations to third countries like South Sudan, was the example given, to proceed without the usual 15-day notice period.
Okay, removing that notice period.
Exactly. Justice Alito, writing for the majority, argued that the government's interest in swift removal, especially in potential national security cases, outweighs those procedural delays.
Makes sense from that perspective, I suppose.
But Justice Sotomayor, in her powerful dissent, countered very strongly. She argued that this decision effectively dooms vulnerable people to danger without a fighting chance. She called it essentially serving as a rubber stamp for cruelty. Strong words.
Very strong words. And our legal team's research tells us this ruling immediately sparked protests in Washington, especially after ICE reported over 500 deportations under it very quickly. It led to widespread legal debates, as you can imagine.
Get it out.
Beyond the Supreme Court, what other federal court interventions have our attorneys identified as critical recently?
Yeah, there have been 2 other significant federal court interventions that provide important checks on executive power. First, on July 9th, a federal court denied Florida's bid to enforce its own, quite aggressive state anti-immigrant law. So it maintained a block on those state measures.
Okay, so a block on the state law.
Right. Then, just a day later, July 10th, a federal court in New Hampshire actually halted President Trump's executive order that aimed to restrict birthright citizenship.
Oh, that's a big one.
A huge one. A crucial decision protecting affected children born in the U.S. Our researchers noted the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, hailed these decisions. But predictably, someone like Stephen Miller, a Trump advisor, argued that activist judges are undermining sovereignty. So the usual pushback.
And beyond the courts, agency actions themselves are also intensifying, right? The Senate confirmed Joseph Edlow is the new USCIS director on July 15th. It was a close vote, 52-48. Edlow is known for his stringent rules. What has our team found about the immediate impact of his confirmation?
Well, the impact seems to be already becoming clear. Our team's legal research shows application volumes plummeting pretty sharply. We're also seeing more requests for evidence, RFEs being issued.
Right.
And denial rates are climbing up by about 15% already.
15% increase, wow.
Yeah. And this acceleration seems to follow the Department of Homeland Security's visa overstay purge, which was ordered back on June 4th after the Boulder attack. Now, USCIS, Customs and Border Protection, CBP, and IC are integrating their data for much more rapid removals. And by July, our researchers found over 500 actions were reported under this specific directive. It definitely suggests a very aggressive stance from the new leadership at USCIS.
Attorney Chris Ingram commented on this escalation too, particularly regarding data privacy. He stated, "The administration's pursuit of IRS and Medicaid records to hunt down undocumented immigrants is a dangerous overreach that invades privacy and deters people from essential services." Can you elaborate a bit on the implications of this data sharing? What does that really mean?
Sure. Chris's point is really crucial here. By accessing tax data potentially from millions who contribute to the system without actually drawing benefits and health records, which could expose vulnerable families, our researchers noted that we're essentially creating a kind of surveillance state.
That's a strong term.
It is, but it reflects the concern. This chills economic participation. It chills humanitarian aid efforts because people become afraid to interact with any government system. And ultimately, that harms public health and erodes trust in government across the board. It has very broad potential impacts.
And meanwhile, legislation is certainly pouring fuel on the fire. President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act on July 7th. This allocates $50 billion for ICE expansions, including funding for 100,000 detention beds, while drastically slashing aid for immigrants.
That $50 billion is a huge investment in enforcement infrastructure.
It is. And groups like the National Immigration Law Center, NILC, are already filing lawsuits, calling it cruelty codified, and linking it directly to Trump's rhetoric about crime. This raises another important question about the use of personal data, even beyond what we just discussed.
It does. Our attorneys found further controversy swirling around the administration, granting ICE access to personal data from, get this, 79 million Medicaid enrollees.
79 million.
Yes, and IRS tax records, specifically to track undocumented immigrants. Attorney Chris M. Ingram critiqued this very sharply, saying, quote, "Weaponizing IRS and Medicaid data against undocumented families is not just an invasion of privacy, it's a recipe for disaster that will prevent people from filing taxes or accessing health care, leading to unreported income, untreated illnesses, and a shadow economy that benefits no one."
So potentially huge negative consequences for public health and economic transparency, not just for the individuals targeted.
Precisely. Far-reaching implications.
Okay, let's broaden our lens now for the final segment and talk about America's international standing.
Right.
Our researchers indicate it's taking a pretty severe hit from these enforcement tactics. How is the U.S. being perceived abroad right now?
Yeah, our team's research indicates a significant and, frankly, quite negative shift. The U.S. is increasingly viewed abroad not as the beacon it once was, but as a place of arbitrary terror and injustice. That's the perception forming.
That's sobering.
It is. And this perception is already having tangible economic consequences. We're seeing reports of widespread boycotts of American goods in some markets and a noticeable decline in tourism revenue. Our team found it's down about 12% in the first half of 2025 alone.
And it's not just tourism, is it? Our attorneys found foreign students are increasingly opting for places like Canada or Australia instead of the U.S.
That's right.
And that drains an estimated $45 billion annually from U.S. universities. That impacts future innovation pipelines, too.
Absolutely. Attorney Chris Ingram issued a strong warning about this broader damage. He stated, quote, "America's image around the world is being destroyed. Once a country revered as the gold standard of democracy, it is now being seen as a country of terror." He continued, "American products are being boycotted and tourism is down, all because of these draconian measures that prioritize fear over fairness."
Now, there was some minor relief mentioned in the July 2025 Visa Bulletin, offering slight advances for some employment-based categories. But overall, the trend seems negative, right?
That's correct. The overall decline persists. Our researchers note student visa denials, for instance, are hitting 41%.
41% denial rate.
Yes. And university enrollment from international students has dropped 11%. So those small bulletin movements aren't really changing the bigger picture.
So if we try to bring all of this together, what's the cumulative strain of these policies, both domestically and internationally? And what's the sort of profound isolation perhaps felt by remaining family members here?
Well, the cumulative strain is immense. You see the economic domino effect from these policies reaching really every American, from farmers losing crops to higher grocery bills to increasingly strained social services dealing with the fallout. And those data sharing initiatives we discussed, they only intensify fears among remaining family members, deterring their engagement with vital systems like healthcare and education, pushing them further into the shadows. I think this deep dive has really shown us how these policy decisions intersect so directly with personal lives, with economic realities, and with global perceptions. And given the shifting public sentiment we started with and these mounting human and economic costs, it really raises an important question for all of us, doesn't it? Can a nation truly achieve sustainable security without balancing enforcement with humanity and economic pragmatism? Or will it ultimately undermine its own foundations by prioritizing fear? It's something to think about.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We hope you gained a lot from this discussion. Please leave us a comment if you can. Additionally, you can support our channel by sharing it with your friends and family, helping us build this community together. Also, follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and Instagram, where we're growing rapidly thanks to our social media team. We'd also like to thank attorney Chris Ingram and his dedicated team once again for researching and preparing this legal research for our presentation. If you, a friend, or a family member would like a free consultation, you can visit our website at www.breakthroughUSA.com and schedule an appointment. We'd love to hear from you and help you if we can. See you next time on Let's Talk U.S. Immigration. Bye for now.